In country news, John Denver. Did you know that John Denver was born on December 31, 1943 in Roswell, New Mexico, United States? Son of Irma Louise, née Swope, 1922 to 2010, and Captain Henry John, Dutch, Duchendorf Sr., 1920 to 1982, a United States Army Air Forces pilot stationed at Roswell Army Airfield. Captain Duchendorf Sr. was a decorated pilot who set a number of airspeed records in a Convair B-58 Hustler in 1961. In his 1994 autobiography Take Me Home, Denver described his father as a stern man who could not show his love for his children. With a military father, Denver's family moved often, and he found difficulty gaining friends and assimilating with children of his own age. The introverted Denver often felt misplaced, but did not know where he truly belonged. While stationed at Davis Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, the Duchendorfs purchased a home and lived there from 1951 to 1959. Denver lived in Tucson, Arizona, from the age of 6 until 14. During these years, Denver attended Mansfeld Junior High School and was a member of the Tucson, Arizona Boys Chorus for 2 years. He was content in Tucson, but his father was transferred to Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. The family later moved to Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, Texas, where Denver graduated from Arlington Heights High School. Denver was distressed with life in Fort Worth, and in his third year of high school, he drove his father's car to California to visit family friends and begin his music career. His father flew to California in a friend's jet to retrieve him, and Denver reluctantly returned to complete his schooling. At age 11, Denver received an acoustic guitar from his grandmother. He learned to play well enough to perform at local clubs by the time he was in college. Denver decided to change his name when Randy Sparks, founder of the New Christy Minstrels, suggested that Duchendorf would not fit comfortably on a marquee. Denver attended Texas Tech University in Lubbock and sang in a folk music group, the Alpine Trio, while studying architecture. He was also a member of the Delta Tau Delta fraternity. Denver dropped out of Texas Tech in 1963 and moved to Los Angeles, where he sang in folk clubs. In 1965, Denver joined the Chad Mitchell Trio, replacing founder Chad Mitchell. After more personnel changes, the trio later became known as Denver, Boise, and Johnson, John Denver, David Boise, and Michael Johnson. In 1969, Denver abandoned band life to pursue a solo career and released his first album for RCA Records, Rhymes and Reasons. 2 years earlier, he had made a self-produced demo recording of some of the songs he played at his concerts. It included a song Denver had written called Babe, I Hate to Go, later renamed Leaving on a Jet Plane. He made several copies and gave them out as presents for Christmas. Milt Okun, who produced records for the Chad Mitchell Trio and folk group Peter, Paul, and Mary, had become Denver's producer as well. Okun brought the unreleased Jet Plane song to Peter, Paul, and Mary. Their rendition hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Denver's song also made it to #2 in the UK in February 1970, having also made #1 on the US Cashbox chart in December 1969. RCA did not actively promote Rhymes and Reasons with a tour, but Denver embarked on an impromptu supporting tour throughout the Midwest, stopping at towns and cities, offering to play free concerts at local venues. When he was successful in persuading a school, college, American Legion Hall, or coffee house to let him play, Denver distributed posters in the town and usually showed up at the local radio station, guitar in hand, offering himself for an interview. As the writer of Leaving on a Jet Plane, Denver was often successful in gaining some promotional airtime, usually performing 1 or 2 songs live. Some venues let him play for the door, others restricted him to selling copies of the album at intermission and after the show. After several months of this, Denver had built a solid fan base, many of whom remained loyal throughout his career. Denver recorded 2 more albums in 1970, Take Me to Tomorrow and Whose Garden Was This?, including a mix of songs he had written and covers. Denver's first 1967 marriage was to Annie Martell of St. Peter, Minnesota. She was the subject of his song, Annie's Song, which he composed in 10 minutes as he sat on a Colorado ski lift. They lived in Edina, Minnesota, from 1968 to 1971. After the success of Rocky Mountain High, inspired by a camping trip with Annie and some friends, Denver bought a residence in Aspen, Colorado. He lived in Aspen until his death. The Denvers adopted a boy, Zachary John, and a girl, Anna Kate, who, Denver said, were meant to be theirs. Denver once said, "I'll tell you the best thing about me. I'm some guy's dad. I'm some little gal's dad. When I die, Zachary John and Anna Kate's father, boy, that's enough for me to be remembered by. That's more than enough." Zachary was the subject of A Baby Just Like You, a song that included the line, "Merry Christmas, Little Zachary," which he wrote for Frank Sinatra. Denver and Martell divorced in 1982. In a 1983 interview shown in the documentary John Denver, Country Boy, 2013, Denver said that career demands drove them apart. Martell said they were too young and immature to deal with Denver's sudden success. To drive home the point that their assets were being split in the divorce, he cut their marital bed in half with a chainsaw. Denver married Australian actress Cassandra Delaney in 1988 after a 2-year courtship. Settling at Denver's home in Aspen, the couple had a daughter, Jessie Bell. Denver and Delaney separated in 1991 and divorced in 1993. Of his second marriage, Denver said that before our short-lived marriage ended in divorce, she managed to make a fool of me from one end of the valley to the other. In 1993, Denver pleaded guilty to a drunken driving charge and was placed on probation. In August 1994, while still on probation, he was again charged with misdemeanor driving under the influence after crashing his Porsche into a tree in Aspen. Though a July 1997 trial resulted in a hung jury on the second DUI charge, prosecutors later decided to reopen the case, which was closed only after Denver's accidental death in October 1997. In 1996, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, determined that Denver was medically disqualified from operating an aircraft due to his failure to abstain from alcohol in October 1995. Following Denver's drunk driving conviction, the FAA had directed Denver to abstain from alcohol if he wished to continue flying airplanes. Beyond music, Denver's artistic interests included painting, but because of his limiting schedule, Denver pursued photography, saying once, "Photography is a way to communicate a feeling." An exhibition of over 40 never-before-seen photographs taken by Denver debuted at the Leon Gallery in Denver, Colorado, in 2014. Denver was also an avid skier and golfer, but his principal interest was in flying. Denver's love of flying was second only to his love of music. In 1974, Denver bought a Learjet to fly himself to concerts. He was a collector of vintage biplanes and owned a Kristen Eagle aerobatic plane, 2 Cessna 210 Centurion airplanes, and a 1997 amateur-built Rutan Long Easy. On April 21, 1989, Denver was in a plane accident while taxiing down the runway at Holbrook Municipal Airport in his vintage 1931 biplane. Denver had stopped to refuel on a flight from Carefree, Arizona, to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Reports stated wind gusts caught the plane, causing it to spin around and sustain extensive damage. Denver was not harmed by the incident. Upon the announcement of Denver's death, Colorado Governor Roy Romer ordered all state flags to be lowered to half-staff in his honor. Funeral services were held at Faith Presbyterian Church in Aurora, Colorado, on October 17, 1997, officiated by Pastor Les Felker, a retired Air Force chaplain. After which Denver's remains were cremated and his ashes scattered in the Rocky Mountains. Further tributes were made at the following Grammy and Country Music Association Awards. In 1998, Denver posthumously received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the World Folk Music Association, which also established a new award in his honor. In 2000, CBS presented the television film Take Me Home, the John Denver story loosely based on his memoirs, starring Chad Lowe as Denver. The New York Post wrote, "An overachiever like John Denver couldn't have been this boring." That same year, on April 22nd, Hawk Mountain Sanctuary in Kempton, Pennsylvania dedicated a bench that was funded by donations as a tribute to his memory for that year's Earth Day. The bench sits on the south lookout of the sanctuary. On September 23, 2007, nearly 10 years after Denver's death, his brother Ron witnessed the dedication of a plaque placed near the crash site in Pacific Grove, California. Copies of DVDs of Denver's many television appearances are now sought-after collectibles, especially his one-hour specials from the 1970s and his six-part series for Britain's BBC, The John Denver Show. An anthology musical featuring Denver's music, Back Home Again, a John Denver holiday, premiered at the Rubicon Theater Company in 2006. On March 12, 2007, the Colorado Senate passed a resolution to make Denver's trademark 1972 hit, Rocky Mountain High, one of the state's two official state songs, sharing duties with its predecessor, Where the Columbines Grow. The resolution passed 50-11 in the House, defeating an objection by Representative Debbie Stafford that the song reflected drug use, most specifically in the line, "Friends around the campfire and everybody's high." Senator Bob Hagedorn, who sponsored the proposal, defended the song as having nothing to do with drugs, but rather everything to do with sharing with friends the euphoria of experiencing the beauty of Colorado's mountain vistas. Senator Nancy Todd said, "John Denver to me is an icon of what Colorado is." On September 24, 2007, the California Friends of John Denver and the WinStar Foundation unveiled a bronze plaque near the spot where his plane went down. The site had been marked by a driftwood log carved by Jeffrey Pine with Denver's name, but fears that the memorial could be washed out to sea sparked the campaign for a more permanent memorial. Initially, the Pacific Grove Council denied permission for the memorial, fearing the place would attract ghoulish curiosity from extreme fans. Permission was finally granted in 1999, but the project was put on hold at the request of Denver's family. Eventually, over 100 friends and family attended the dedication of the plaque, which features a bas-relief of the singer's face and lines from his song, Wind Song, "So welcome the wind and the wisdom she offers. Follow her summons when she calls again." To mark the 10th anniversary of Denver's death, his family released a set of previously unreleased recordings of his 1985 concert performances in the Soviet Union. This 2-CD set, John Denver, Live in the USSR, was produced by Roger Nichols and released by AO Music. These digital recordings were made during 11 concerts and then rediscovered in 2002. Included in the set is a previously unpublished rendition of Annie's song in Russian. The collection was released November 6, 2007. On October 13, 2009, a DVD box set of previously unreleased concerts recorded throughout Denver's career was released by Eagle Rock Entertainment. Around the World Live is a 5-disc DVD set featuring 3 complete live performances with full band from Australia in 1977, Japan in 1981, and England in 1986. These are complemented by a solo acoustic performance from Japan in 1984 and performances at Farm Aid from 1985, 1987, and 1990. The final disc has 2-hour-long documentaries made by Denver. On April 21, 2011, Denver became the first inductee into the Colorado Music Hall of Fame. A benefit concert was held at Broomfield's One SD Bank Center and hosted by Olivia Newton-John. Other performers participating in the event included the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Lee and Womack, and John Oates. Both his ex-wives attended, and the award was presented to his 3 children. The John Denver Spirit Sculpture is a 2002 bronze sculpture statue by artist Sue DeChico that was financed by Denver's fans. It is at the Colorado Music Hall of Fame at Red Rocks Amphitheater. On March 7, 2014, the West Virginia legislature approved a resolution to make "Take Me Home, Country Roads" the official state song of West Virginia. Governor Earl Ray Tomblin signed the resolution into law on March 8. Denver is only the second person, along with Stephen Foster, to have written 2 state songs. On October 24, 2014, Denver was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Los Angeles, California. Thanks so much, John, for your contribution to country music.